me find Ms. McPherson. Ms. McPherson, is this, let's address the adversary first. Is that agreed or contested?
Your Honor, at this time, it's neither. I was gonna ask for a reset so that I can get some of the records in this case and also to prepare potentially for the aggravated circumstances motion that was filed on January 10th.
All right, let me get any responses from Ms. Walker and then Ms. Bythewood.
Yeah, and I don't believe we would have an objection if the emergency orders will be extended if the reset is granted, and we will provide whatever records that we, if we have records, we will provide them.
Okay, and I would say that any consideration of a continuance or a reset would involve necessarily extending the emergency temporary orders. So, Ms. Bythewood, what say you?
Your Honor, I have no objection. I've provided a copy of the mother's indictments and convictions to all parties. And the only thing that I would ask is an update on the child for the court today, because the child is in dire condition.
And Your Honor, I could announce that I know, and I can provide the department. I have information on, and the court on the alleged father in this case.
Okay.
And the name of the child, the full name that's intended to be for the child.
All right, so let's take the alleged father's name.
The alleged father's name is Jesse, J.R. And I've asked her for any contact information. And at this time, she doesn't have a phone number or any kind of contact information for him. But if I get that information, I will share that with the department and the attorney ad litem.
Does she know where he lives?
She said she can find him. So, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. Very, very good. Stand by, please. Stand by, please.
Your Honor, I would just want to clarify that Jesse's name is not spelled Jessey.
I can find out. I may have just wrote it down that way, and I can clarify that, Your Honor. I can call her and at least clarify that.
Okay. Let me see, Ms. McPherson. What's the correct pronunciation of your client's last name?
Pilot.
Pilot. All right. If I can get the mother to unmute her device. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's get you, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Let me get you to raise your right hand to be sworn, please.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. And you are, state your name, please.
Shanna Pallant.
Okay. And Ms. Pallant, you are the child whose initials are HP. You are her mother?
HP. No, sir. It's HM.
HM. Okay. And what does the M stand for?
McCarver, my maiden name.
Okay. Would you spell that for us?
Sorry,
and are you presently married to anyone?
No, sir. We're divorced.
And who is the father of the child HM?
Jesse Skinner. And it is EY. It's not IE.
All right. So Jessey. And
Yes,
as far as you know, what town does he live in?
Kirbyville.
And the court is ordering you to provide any locating information you have for him, address or otherwise.
I don't have an address. He bounces around. I really don't know where he stays exactly.
Okay.
He just bounces from here to there. When I go find him, I have to go from place to place until I finally run across him.
So again, any locating information you have, be it none, or little or great, you're ordered to give that to your CPS caseworker. Okay.
Sometimes you can catch him over at Buster Parker's.
Okay.
It's
All right.
on County
Okay,
Road 14.
Let the caseworker know.
Yes, sir. I will.
I might be the only one who doesn't know what that place is. So, are you currently employed?
No, sir, but I have been putting in applications
Okay.
all over town,
Okay.
everywhere. But
Okay,
sorry.
I'm going to have your attorney, Ms. McPherson, facilitate any claims of indigence or requests for court-appointed attorney.
Yes, sir.
All right, so because you do have a right to an attorney in this case, I only appointed Ms. McPherson provisionally, and so in order for her to continue, I'm going to need to know that you are against the department's petition.
Absolutely.
And that, okay, so I checked that off, and that you cannot afford an attorney. Okay, and if
Yes, sir.
those be the case, then I will appoint an attorney to you, but you'll need to fill out that affidavit of indigence. All right.
Yes, sir.
And your attorney will help you with that. Maybe somebody can forward one to her. That will be executed, filed, and a copy sent to me, Ms. McPherson. Thank you. Okay, I don't think I want to go any further into questioning with the mother. I'm considering a reset, but Ms. Bythewood, I believe you spoke of the child's current conditions as dire. So, do you want to tell me, or do you want to call
Can I say something?
a witness?
no, Miss Pillant,
Yes, ma'am.
please don't say anything unless you talk to me, okay? Talk to me
Yes,
at this time.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
stand by, Ms. Pillant. Thank you.
I believe Ms. Spiller has the most up-to-date information.
I believe, Amy, she probably does, and I know Miss Daniels has seen, I believe, the child lately, and she has an update.
Okay.
Okay, let me swear both of you in, and we'll see where we go. So if both of you, Ms. Daniels and Ms. Spiller, will raise your right hands to be sworn, do you all swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So let's stick with the narrow issue of how the child's doing, where the child is, and we could perhaps touch ever so briefly on any visits, if any, between now and to whenever we reset the adversary. So, Ms. Bythewood, you may call your first. Did Ms. Bythewood freeze?
It looks that way.
Okay. So far, so good. So you may call your first.
Ms. Spiller's unmuted, so I'll call her.
Okay.
Nicole, would you please state your name and your relationship to the child?
Nicole Spiller, I'm the investigations supervisor over Robert Alford, the investigator.
Okay, and for the very, very narrow issue of how the child's doing, if there's no objection to her testifying in the narrative, if she could give an update to the court. I'm afraid I'll freeze again if I start asking questions.
Okay. All right. She may. On that narrow issue, you may, Ms. Spiller.
My investigator, Robert Alford, would be the best one to testify because I did not speak to the hospital yesterday and he did.
All right, so I have no further questions for Ms. Spiller.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You may call your next.
Mr. Robert Alford.
Okay. And I don't know Mr. Alford. There you are. Thank you, sir. Were you sworn in?
I was not, Judge.
Okay. If you'll just keep that right hand up, I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God. Yes?
I swear.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Bythewood.
Mr. Alford, you're the investigator for the removal, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And as to the very narrow issue of how this child is doing, my last update was hopeful but still very, very concerning. Could you please give the court an update on how this child is doing and what his prognosis is?
Yes,
I'm sorry, her.
yes, I spoke with NICU on the 11th, and the working nurse has stated that she is starting to gain weight. She's currently 3 pounds and 8 ounces. She's still using a feeding pump. She's not interested in a bottle, but it seems that the withdrawals are subduing, and they had no concerns currently at the moment. Still no date on her being released or anything like that.
Okay, so we've kind of moved out of the dire stage.
That was my understanding, yes.
Okay, good, because that was the last update that I received was it was still touch and go. So there's a very good chance for this child's survival.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
All right, good, good. And is mom visiting?
When I had spoke to the nurse and when I interviewed Miss Plant, no, there's been no visit other than phone calls.
All right, is Miss Shanna allowed to visit?
I'm sorry?
Is the mother allowed to visit?
Yes, we had spoken to staff. They would have to take measures for contamination. But yes, there was nothing put in place or anything said that she could not visit.
All right, so all she needs to do is go to the hospital so she can see her baby?
Correct.
All right, and is that something that you're actually encouraging her to do?
I very much have stated when I interviewed her a couple of days ago, I very much said that. And the nursing staff has also spoken to her on the phone and said the same.
All right, thank you, sir. And that's pretty much the extent of the update as to this child. Does she have I know what the mother has stated in court, but on your documentation, what is the child's name?
So it was Hazel Plant, and I had spoken obviously with the mother. I interviewed her, and she had said that she'd put on the birth certificate as it being Hazel Maxine McGarver, but up until that point, we believed it was to be Plant.
And do you have any confirmation? And I know what she said, but do you have any written confirmation?
Not as of yet.
All right, are you attempting to get it?
Yes.
Okay. I saw your supervisor nodding her head, and she's in the next office too, so I can imagine that that's in the works, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to nod. I'm just like answering along.
But that's okay. And I don't think he was even looking at you, but I don't have any further questions for this witness. I feel a lot better now.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from anyone for Mr. Alford?
Just real briefly, Mr. Alford, how often, and because my client is on and I just want her to hear again, how often can she go to the hospital and what hours can she go to the hospital to visit with her child? If you know.
I am not familiar with, I was about to say, I'm not familiar with NICU hours, but nothing has been put in place to prevent Ms. Pallant from visiting.
Do you know if she has transportation to be able to go there? And is that something that could be provided? Sorry.
No. She had stated to me that, and the NICU staff has also told me that the reason she hasn't visited was because her car needed tires.
But you said she's called? Has she called the
Yes, the staff had told me she had spoken to the NICU.
Okay, thank you. That's on that limited issue, Your Honor. That's all I'll get into today.
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the order of the court would be that the mother may visit, and in fact, I would encourage the mother to visit during every NICU visiting hour provided by the hospital, and provided that she abide by any and all protocols that the hospital would have in place, put in place, require for that visit to occur and occur safely. The court hereby resets the adversary hearing, extending the emergency temporary orders to January the 27th, at 9 a.m. So you all are ordered back at that time. Okay, anything else from anyone else? So
I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I don't want mom to go real quick. Just
hold on, Ms. Pallant.
if there
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
if her number changes or anything, if she could remain in contact with the department. I am anticipating this child just getting healthier and healthier and healthier. But my concern is, and I'm sure this is Ms. Blunt's concern too, is the previous child. I just would want her to be aware and available if there's any problem.
Yes, ma'am. I will let y'all know if my number changes.
okay. So thank you very much, Ms. Pallant.
Yes.
Keep caseworker, and do you have Ms. Daniels' contact information?
Yes, sir. I believe I do. Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, does she have yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so keep her apprised of any changes in your phone number, and keep your phone charged, and keep minutes on your phone.
Yes, sir.
Right, and if you have any alternate or any other numbers, you may do well to make sure your caseworker and your attorney have those. We have the McCarver adversary and motion for aggravated circumstances. Did I see Ms. McPherson? Yes, Ms. McPherson. Okay, I can now. Okay, are you ready on the McCarver matter? Do you?
I don't know if my client is here, Your Honor.
Well, let me, of course, call for her. And this is cause number 40481. Numbers 2 and 3 on the docket, in the interest of HM. Calling now for the mother, Shanna Pallant. Shanna Pallant. Shanna Pallant. Shanna Pallant, ma'am, if you are appearing by phone, please press star to unmute. Shanna Pallant. I don't see the name. No answer. No one's. As soon as Ms. Daniels gets in from the waiting room, nobody will be in the waiting room.
And Your Honor, I can't remember, and I apologize. I can't remember if when she appeared last time, if she was in opposition. And I have not been able to get her, the indigent forms. I don't have it in my notes about her being in opposition, and I was going to ask if she wasn't, since she hasn't filled out the forms and I haven't had any contact, if I could be withdrawn until she appears in court.
Well, I think based on 107.0141, you were just provisionally appointed to help her prepare for the adversary. I don't have any indication whether she was in opposition last time, and I've not established that she's indigent either. So the court is going to then.
I think Ms. Miller is raising her hand.
Let's see, Ms. Spiller, keep your hand up. I'm going to swear you in, okay?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, everyone who thinks there's a chance that they might be called to testify in the McCarver matter, please raise your right hands. Do you all swear, promise, or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God. Yes?
I do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. You may put your hand out. Ms. Spiller, you might know something about the mother's whereabouts or position.
Yes, sir, and I didn't want to speak out of turn. That's why I rose my hand. My investigator, Robert Alford, is able to give you the exact place. She is in rehab.
Yes, so I had spoken with the Dream Center, and Miss Plant was with them at the intake process. I provided them a link to court as well as informed them date and time. But I was just speaking to our CVS caseworker, and she stated, I want to say that she contacted them yesterday, and it seems Miss Plant may have left the Dream Center.
Okay, and I believe that would be Ms. Daniels, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and she was, all right, thank you, Mr. Alford. And Ms. Daniels, you were sworn in, so do you want to speak to that?
Yes, Your Honor. I did call the Dream Center yesterday. They said Miss Palant did show up on Monday and she stayed until Wednesday and they discharged her on Wednesday. And the only reason that they gave me for the discharge was she had something she needed to take care of. They would not specify what those things were.
Sure, I understand that. Have you subsequently tried to contact her?
Yes, Your Honor. I have called her and I have texted her
Okay,
on Wednesday and today.
and no, with no response or reply.
No, sir, no response.
Do you know as a fact that whether she has today's login information or Zoom information?
I know that I sent it to her this morning. And I believe investigation sent it to her earlier this week as well.
And Your Honor, I did too. I sent it to the text, that number that I
Okay,
sent the link and also to have her.
okay, all right, thank you, Ms. McPherson. And so that was for today, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Has anyone tried her number today, this morning?
I have not had a chance, Your Honor. I apologize.
Okay. And I understand you have not had a chance this morning, Ms. McPherson. And that's fine, and I understand. Maybe Ms. Daniels,
I can call her number, Your Honor, if you want me to call.
if you will, please, ma'am, let's
Yes, sir.
one more try, and then we're going to proceed, Ms. Walker and Ms. Bytewood, if you all are ready.
I apologize. Have I been officially discharged? Pending yet.
Well, you're still doing such a good job, but let's see if we can get a hold of her. And if we can, I might, if she will appear, I might place you all in a breakout room. But if not, my intention is to discharge you.
It just went straight to voicemail, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, thank you. So with that, Ms. McPherson, with the court's appreciation for your work heretofore, I will discharge you for the manifest reason. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And this is the McCarver case 40481. So with that, Ms. Walker and Ms. Bythewood, are you all ready to proceed on the adversary and the motion?
Ready, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, with that question answered, let me push pause just for a moment. And if you all will, well, I don't see it. Yes, I do. Okay. Let's go to the number 7 case, the Williams matter. That's 40323. Now, I believe, let's see who all is here on the Williams matter. Give me just a moment. Find my place here. In the interest of HM for an adversary hearing and motion for aggravated circumstances. I believe I have sworn everyone in, at least on the department side of things. So let me call again for the mother, Shanna Pallant. Shanna Pallant. Shanna Pallant. Shanna Pallant. If you're on the phone, ma'am, please press *6 on your phone. *6, unmute. Announce your appearance. No answer. I don't see the name. No one's presently in the waiting room. And Ms. Walker, Ms. Bythewood, the father is truly unknown at this point. Is that correct?
I believe that
I believe.
she
Oh, go ahead.
Miss McPherson a couple of names, but yes.
And I was going to say, I believe the at least one name that was given to the department hasn't been located yet, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So whom, if anyone, has the department pled?
Let me ask Ms. Vargas if I think we did an amended petition. I just have the original petition, which I don't see that we did in the original petition.
Jessey, did you say Skinner?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, and that's what Ms. Vargas has as well, Your Honor, Jessey.
Okay, thank you. And so let me call then for Jesse Skinner. Jesse Skinner, Jesse Skinner, Jesse Skinner. Am I saying that right, y'all? All right. Sir, if you are on the telephone trying to participate and appear, please press *6, unmute. Let me know of your appearance. Jesse Skinner. All right. No answer. I don't see the name, nor is anyone presently in the waiting. So with that, Ms. Walker, you may call your first, and right before you do that, let me see, Ms. Bythewood, are you still urging your motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. You may call your first, Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd call Mr. Alford.
All right. And you were sworn earlier, sir, yes?
Yes.
Go ahead and state your name, please.
My name is Robert Alford.
Okay. And how are you related to this case?
I am the investigator for the Shannon Pallant case.
And how did the department become involved with the child that's the subject of this case?
So on 12/30 last year, we received an intake alleging Shannon Pallant of neglectful supervision of Hazel Maxine McCarver. Hazel was born on the 30th, and both mother and child tested positive for methamphetamine at the hospital.
Okay. And once you received the intake, did you what step did you take next after receiving the intake and the allegations of the mother and child testing positive for methamphetamine?
We had sent a courtesy to St. Elizabeth to see the child, and then we were making efforts to meet Miss Shannon Pallant for an interview and try to gather information about what exactly is going on. And then after the testing and locating Miss Pallant, we moved with the evidence we had towards a removal.
Okay. Now, first of all, how was the child doing when you first received the intake?
But when we first received the intake, she was premature. I want to say they estimated 33 weeks. She was having trouble feeding. They had a feeding tube present, and she was also having withdrawal symptoms. They stated that she was shaking, vomiting, and typical withdrawal symptoms.
And now when you able to visit with the mother, did you speak with her in regards to her positive drug test and the positive drug test for the baby?
Yes, ma'am. On the 11th, I had met with Ms. Plant and we conducted an interview. And she admitted to me that she had used methamphetamine intravenously up to 3 weeks before Hazel's birth.
Okay. And at that time, did she also mention who the father was or who she thought the father of the baby was?
Yes, she had stated that Jesse Skinner was the father. She had told me that she had no contact information for him or did not know his whereabouts, and that he was adamant that the child was not his, and that he did not want anything to do with the child. And that he was not on the birth certificate as well.
Okay. And have you been able to find out any locating information for Mr. Skinner?
We received, Miss Plant told us a name where he could possibly be located at, but we have not been able to confirm or determine he is there.
Now, you said that she mentioned that she used intravenously up to 3 weeks before giving birth. Did she say that she had sought any prenatal care during her pregnancy?
No, she had stated that no prenatal care is known. She stated that she didn't know she was pregnant up until the 3 weeks prior.
Miss Plant did not know that she was pregnant, or stated to you she did not know she was pregnant?
That is what she told me.
Now, also, was the hospital concerned about the mother leaving the hospital?
Yes, it was my understanding that she left against medical advice.
And do you know if there was some concern about whether or not she, I guess, was concerned about the baby in the hospital?
When I had spoken to the hospital a number of times, they had stated she had not come by, but they did say she had called.
Okay. Now, does the mother have any CPS history?
Yes, ma'am, she does.
And how has she been involved with CPS in the past?
Of note, she's had numerous amount of cases, but there has been 4 separate children removed. And there was 1 child that passed away in the hospital, separate from the 4.
Okay. And out of the children that were removed, were any of those children returned to her?
They were not.
Now, where's the child currently placed, or does the child still remain in the hospital?
No, the child was placed with Miss Ballard on the 25th.
Okay. And is she a relative placement or just a foster home? Do you know?
My understanding, I did not do the placement. That was on our conservatorship conservatorship side, but my understanding she is a foster.
Okay. When the child was in the hospital, was the department able to contact any relatives?
We did a search, but I cannot say that I personally did not contact any.
Okay.
We
And
did
I'm sorry, go ahead.
perform a diligent search to try. No. So
I'm sorry, I believe you kind of faded out with your answer.
Yes, ma'am. I stated that we did perform a diligent search, but I'm not certain of the results. I did not contact any of the family personally.
Okay. Were there any other family member or any family members that tried to make contact with the department that you're aware of?
To my knowledge, I do not know of any family that has tried to make contact with the department.
And do you believe that reasonable efforts were made to prevent a removal, or was a removal the only option at the time?
Due to the concerning results and her physical health history, I do believe a removal is necessary.
And are you asking at this time that the department be named the temporary managing conservator of the child?
I am.
And do you feel that's in the child's best interest?
I do feel it's in the child's best interest.
And do you also feel that there would be a continuing danger to the health and safety and contrary to the child's welfare if the child were returned to a parent or parents today?
I do feel the child would be in danger.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bytewood.
Mr. Alford, when you spoke to the mother in this case, did you ask her why she left her baby in the hospital?
I did. She did not give me an exact answer. She appeared to be very anxious about it. And when I asked why she left against AMA, she did not give me a clear answer why. She stumbled around, and it was very emotional for her at the time when I was speaking with her, but she did not give me a direct answer why she left.
Did she acknowledge that she in fact left the hospital against medical advice?
She did acknowledge that, yes.
All right. So if nothing else, we've had a mother who's pretty much abandoned her child in the hospital to withdraw from methamphetamines. Is that correct?
That appears to be correct, yes.
All right. She totally acknowledged that she used methamphetamines intravenously up until 3 weeks before the child was born, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And so, and were you aware that her rights were terminated as to one of her other children involuntarily because of the abuse and neglect of that child?
There has been 4 separate rights terminated. Which child are you speaking of exactly?
HT. She's an adult now, but I don't want to say her name.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
And were you aware that she voluntarily relinquished her rights to 2 other children about 12 years ago?
That's correct. Yes.
And as part of your investigation, doing a criminal background check on parents?
Yes.
And when you conducted a criminal background check on Ms. Pallant, did you discover that she had been in prison?
Yes.
And did you, sir, discover she had been in prison for providing methamphetamines to her unborn child?
That appeared, as I remember, that is correct. Yes.
All right. And I'm not sure if I sent you a copy of the judgment of guilt and the indictment. Do you recall if I sent those documents to you?
I do not recall, ma'am.
Okay, that's all right. You don't have them, do you?
I not to my knowledge, but please do send.
Okay. Well, I sent them around for purposes of introducing them into evidence, but if I didn't send them to you, I'm not going to go through you to do that. But were you able to speak to Ms. Pilot on any other occasion other than that first time?
So on the 11th was the only time I've actually been able to do like a conversation or an interview. There's been hit and misses in our conversations where it's very momentary, like me explaining like, hey, remember we have court on this date, or when she was intaking into the Dream Center, I had spoken to her for a moment there when I was on the phone with the representative of Dream Center, and I had let the Dream Center know that she did have court today, and told them I'd be emailing, and they confirmed the email. But that's about the only time I've really been able to have contact with her.
Okay. And were you in court last time when this adversary was reset?
I was.
And do you recall that the mother was specifically told that she could visit her child in the hospital, and she was encouraged to visit the child in the hospital?
Yes, I in fact did say that the hospital did agree to those terms. She'd have to wear some type of protective equipment, but it was encouraged. Yes.
All right. And that was about 2 weeks ago?
Yes, ma'am.
To your knowledge, has she gone to visit her child in the hospital in the last 2 weeks since she was told she could?
She had texted me stating that she was going to the Dream Center. I want to say this was Saturday of this previous Saturday, and said that she was going to the Dream Center and she was going to go by and see Hazel. But then when I was speaking with medical staff and stuff like that, none of them had made any mention of her coming by.
All right. But she could have gone and you not know, right?
Yes, that is very possible.
Okay. One time in 2 weeks.
Correct.
All right. The previous baby that was deceased, when was that baby born?
I would have to look into that, ma'am.
If the affidavit said 2021, would that be correct?
Yes, yes, it would have been 21.
Right. And do you recall how long that child lived after birth?
It was not long. The child had passed in the hospital.
Right. And do you recall if the mother was present for her child's passing, or if she was absent and that child died with strangers?
That is correct. The child did pass with strangers. She was not present.
And is that something that you spoke with the mother about, the fragility of this particular child?
We had covered the topic of her history, and that was brought up. She seemed remorseful about it, but she did not press the matter or seem to acknowledge that this could be a very similar situation.
Okay. Just she knew that it could happen and whatever?
That's the way it appears to me, ma'am.
So at this time, based on this mother's significant history, her abandonment of this particular child, her inability to care for herself, let alone this child, do you believe that it's in this child's best interest that the department is named temporary managing conservator?
I do believe this is in the child's best interest.
And you're aware that I filed a motion to proceed under aggravated circumstances. Do you know what that is?
I have a basic knowledge of aggravated circumstances, but I cannot say I can cover every detail of something like that.
Pretty much means that the department does not have to make reasonable efforts to return this child, and that the trial can be pushed up. We don't have to wait a year. But you have to meet specific criteria for that. I'm not going to go through the criteria. You're not an attorney, but honestly, based on her history and what she's done so far in the short period this child's been alive, do you believe that that's an appropriate step to take?
Based on the history and the evidence we currently have, I do agree with that.
All right. She admitted to methamphetamine use while this child was being created inside of her. Do you believe that that's endangering behavior?
Very much so, yes.
Okay. State of Texas does too. And she has been to prison before for being pregnant and doing drugs and having a child born that way. You recall?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a consistent pattern with her.
Yes, ma'am. And she had stated to me that she's been using since she was released. So it was instantaneous release and then back to the pattern.
Okay, when you say released, I was just talking about prison. Are you talking about prison or are you talking about the hospital?
I'm sorry, from prison. She stated she had used since she was released from prison.
Okay. That's double unfortunate. Well, did you ask her when the last time she used when you talked to her on the 11th was?
She did not say for that. She had just stated that it was 3 weeks prior to Hazel's birth. I requested a drug screening, and she agreed, but I have not been given any results, and that was now over 3 weeks ago. So I'm pretty positive she did not partake in the drug screening.
Okay, and I was going to ask if you confirmed with the facility that she even went.
Yeah, I contacted them, I want to say about a week ago, and they had had no records of it.
All right. And the 2054 that you sent over, is that kind of open-ended? She could go today if she wanted to?
No, I would have to send in a new screening. I only set it up for the week after the interview.
Okay, so you gave her a whole week to go and not just 4 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, thank you for your work on this case, and I don't have any further questions. I'll pass you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Walker.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You may call your next, if any.
Yes, I call Jamie Daniels.
All right. And Ms. Daniels, you were sworn in earlier, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Would you go ahead and state your name for the record, please?
I'm Jamie Daniels. I'll be the conservatorship worker in this case.
Okay. And Ms. Daniels, have you had an opportunity to visit with the child?
Yes, I have. I went to the hospital and saw her a couple of weeks ago, and I also did placement on the 25th.
And how's the child doing currently?
She's doing pretty good now. She was able to be released because it was just no medical issues at this time. She was not on any prescription. She was gaining weight, and she did learn to feed from a bottle. So her nasal gastric tube was removed. And so then she was ready to leave the NICU.
Okay. And where is she currently placed?
She's placed in a foster home in Jefferson County.
And anything that she needs or the foster home needs that the court should address today?
Not that I'm aware of.
And have you had any contact with the mother?
On the 13th of January, I did reach out to Ms. Blunt, and she answered the phone. I set up a day to come, or I set up a date to come and see her. And excuse me, I believe it was before the 13th, and the 13th was the day I had set up to go and see her. And when I got to the residence, she did not answer the door, and I attempted to call her. She did not answer. I left a card. A few days later, I'd made an unannounced visit. There was a vehicle in the driveway. I knocked on the door. No one come to the door, and I tried to call her at that time. She did not answer, and I left a card. She did text me that she was going to the Dream Center. I asked her which Dream Center location was she going to. She responded with Beaumont. I asked her if she would be able to have a phone or any form of communication while she was at the Dream Center, and she responded she was not aware if she would be able to answer her phone or not. That's why I contacted the Dream Center to see if I could reach her on the phone or, through the Dream Center themselves, because I wanted to reach out to Ms. Plant.
And did she give you a name or names of possible fathers?
She did not. The only potential father I know of is who she announced in court, which was Jesse Skinner.
Okay. And have you had any contact with Mr. Skinner?
No, I have no contact information for Mr. Skinner at this time.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bytewood.
Ms. Daniels, were you aware that Mr. Skinner is reported to be married to Ms. Pallant on Facebook?
No, ma'am, I was not aware of that.
All right. Now that you're aware of that, is that something that you'll follow up on?
Yes, ma'am. If I'm planning on making contact with him, if I can find him or get a contact information for him, absolutely.
Okay, because that's not like official, but it could be, right?
Right.
Okay.
Look into that.
So at this time, our baby's doing good, right?
Yes, ma'am. I got to speak with the neonatologist at length and talk about her care while she was in the hospital and her care needs when she left the NICU. Yes, ma'am. She's doing really good. She's growing. She's so precious and cute.
All right. And is it unfortunate that Ms. Pallant has not maintained contact with you, the hospital, or anyone to check on the condition of her baby?
Yes, I did ask about her contact with the hospital. Originally, I was told by a nurse that Ms. Pallant's last contact was the day of birth and then the day after birth. When I went to do placement and to get her from the NICU, there was one day they were not sure if Ms. Pallant had come into the hospital or not, because their notes stated that they had had a conversation with Ms. Pallant that normally would have taken place in person. So they were not able to tell me if she came to the hospital or if it was a phone call. So that's still kind of an unknown. I have not been able to speak to her to ask her about that.
All right, and that was going to be my follow-up question. If you've been able to make any contact to see what's going on with her, to why she's not visiting her baby.
No, ma'am, not since the initial contact. No, ma'am.
Or if she's actually visiting her baby and the people you're talking to are missing it, right?
Well, you know, I've spoken to 2 different nurses and Dr. Thompson, who was the neonatologist, who she wanted us to have accurate information. That is what she asked, for the nurses to go into all of the notes into their system to see, because I told her that was very important information for me to know. I needed to know, is she seeing her child? Is she not? Is she calling to check on her child? Is she not? I needed to know that. And so I let her know how important of information that was. And that was what I was told, was that there was a couple of contacts early on and a potential visitation and or phone call on the Saturday before her removal.
All right.
I mean, not removal, before she was released from the NICU, is what I'm trying to say.
And so you're going to be our caseworker on this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you understand that I've asked for aggravated circumstances to where there doesn't have to be reasonable efforts, no family plan of service, all of that. If that is denied and a family plan of service is prepared for Ms. Pallant, do you have any indication what the primary goal of the department would be starting off?
I would need to staff that, but I would believe it would start with relative adoption, relative conservatorship. I don't think in this case that we would start with family reunification.
And is that just based on the significant
Just due to her
history?
past history. It is, yes, ma'am, due to her significant history and what happened with the previous infant. Yes, ma'am.
As well as what's going on with our infant too, right?
Correct, yes.
All right, well, thank you so much. I don't have any further questions and I'll pass you as a witness.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Ms. Walker.
I have no further questions and no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let me ask Mr. Alford, and if Ms. Spiller and or Ms. Daniels needs to chime in, they may. Mr. Alford, Ms. Bythewood asked you about the child death. To your knowledge, did any criminal charges result from that against the mother?
Not to my knowledge, Your
Your Honor, I was actually the investigator on that case at that time.
Mhm.
Law enforcement was attempting to locate them, and they were looking into charges at the close of the case, but I do not know if they proceeded with any.
All right, and that you all certainly did a criminal history search in this case. Okay, all right, thank you. Ms. Bythewood, you may call your first, if any. And Ms. Bythewood, in terms of the involuntary termination, was that order sent to Ms. Wallingford?
No, sir, that was Newton County, and that was 8 years ago.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. Any witnesses?
Yes, sir, Nicole Spiller. And would it be all right if I went into my aggravated circumstances at this time?
Yes, of course.
All right, it would be Nicole Spiller.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, could you please state your name and your relationship to this case?
Nicole Spiller, and I am the investigations supervisor for the department.
All right, and I've had several discussions regarding this. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, you're the one who approached me regarding the mother's criminal history. I just happen to know it already, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at this time, are you in possession of any documentation that shows that the mother has been found guilty and indicted in the indictment for that judgment regarding distribution of a controlled substance to a minor?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I have reviewed the documents.
All right. And have you been able to have any type of conversations with Ms. Pallant regarding these charges or any other charges?
In the previous case that I had, she was spoken to at the hospital, but then we could never locate them. So I was not able to have a discussion with her in detail about the criminal history, nor in this case. She has only spoken with other staff members. I have not personally spoken with her.
Okay. Based on her admission of using methamphetamines 3 weeks prior, at least 3 weeks prior to the child's birth, and the child's drug test results and the child's withdrawals, do you believe that she endangered that child by using methamphetamines while pregnant?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, now let's go back in time to 2012. At that time, did she also use methamphetamines that endangered her unborn child?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
And she was indicted for such?
Yes, ma'am.
And she pled guilty to it too, didn't she?
Yes, ma'am, and she served time in TDC for that.
All right. Your Honor, I have sent Exhibit A and B to the attorneys in this case, as well as Ms. Spiller and Ms. Wallingford. I would like to introduce Exhibit A, the judgment adjudicating guilt. It's public record from Newton County, as well as the indictment from Newton County. That's Exhibit B.
All right, thank you. Any objections, Ms. Walker, to either Exhibit A, which is the judgment, Exhibit B, which is the indictment?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, so attorney ad litem and guardian, well, attorney ad litem for the child who is in a dual role, her exhibits A and B are hereby admitted without objection.
Ms. Spiller, do you have an opinion regarding whether or not aggravated circumstances needs to be granted in this case?
I do believe they do. This is not the first time this has been the situation with this mother, and mom has admitted drug use. Mom has been to prison previously. I mean, there was multiple times that she could have corrected this prior to this time.
And she's pretty much abandoned this child into CPS care, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, it might be different if she were here today and if she had visited with the child during the time between the adversary hearings. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Spiller. I'll pass you as a witness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Walker.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Vitewood, you may call your next.
Your Honor, I have no further witnesses.
Okay, Mr. Alford.
Yes, Your Honor.
Regarding the birth of the child and the withdrawals and the hospitalizations, the feeding tube and the like, Is it your opinion that this child, given the mother's admissions to no prenatal care, intravenous methamphetamine use 3 weeks before the child's birth, the exhibited withdrawal symptoms and the like, do you believe that this child experienced serious bodily injury as a result inflicted by the mother?
I do believe that, Your Honor.
Are we aware, Ms. Bightwood, of any injuries resulting from the 2012 incident and the minor that was involved?
That child went through withdrawals. Unfortunately, I've been representing this mother's children since 2011, and that child also went through withdrawals.
Okay, and is that your recollection, Ms. Spiller? I think you worked on that case or those cases. Let me have you unmute and answer out loud, if you will, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I was not the investigator in 2012. However, I am knowledgeable of the case history and have read the case history.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else from anyone else?
In Your Honor, just for everyone's information, this mother actually went through SafeP. She was not successful in the halfway house portion, but she actually went through the inpatient treatment portion of SafeP. So she has had some type of rehabilitation and some type of assistance for her addiction problem. It's very unfortunately that when she got out of prison, she did so well for a little while that her 17-year-old child was able to return to her care. But then shortly thereafter, we lost her again. So I was upset to see her name come across my desk.
Alas, I'm sure, and the court, though not altogether surprised, was disappointed to hear that she checked herself out of rehab at the Dream Center. I think most of us have seen good things happen there. All right, anything else from anyone else? All right, at this time, based on the evidence, the court does make the requisite 262 findings, names the department as the temporary managing conservator of the child, the subject of the suit, approves of the continued placement in the foster home in Jefferson County, where the child is. As to the attorney ad litem's motion for aggravated circumstances, the court does hereby find that the mother has subjected the child to aggravated circumstances, specifically pursuant to 262.2015B2. I'd just to observe, make the observation that I don't believe the judgment or the indictment fall within any of the penal code sections under 3. You all might agree, but the court does find aggravated circumstances. The court does hereby waive the department's requirement to create a service plan in this case. Furthermore, waives the department's requirement to make reasonable efforts to reunify in this case. I'm going to, at this point, accelerate the trial our dismissal date is January the 8th, 2024. I'm going to accelerate that trial. We'll talk about that in just a moment. If Ms. Walker and Ms. Bythewood, if you all can at least maybe agree on a month, and then we'll get into the details. But I am going to set this for an initial permanency hearing on February the 16th, at 9 a.m. And that's to meet the requirement to hold that hearing within 30 days from today. Let's look at May the 26th. That's a Friday, so it would be 9. And right now we have 5 cases on that docket and no trial. So how is 5/26? All right, so again, initial permanency hearing February the 16th at 9, trial May the 26th at 9, dismissal January 8, 2024. All right, with that, thank you all very much. Anything else from anyone else on the McCarver matter? All right, the court finds its rulings are in the best interest of the child.